So as the rupee plummets and the stock markets tumble and the economy seems to be in some sort of crisis, despite appeals for calm and courage from the finance minister, the mood is gloomy. And the question is being asked by several financial commentators today, how much of the mood the morning after the passage of the food bill in the Lok Sabha has to do with the tumbling markets and the general state of anxiety. In other words, on the Buck Stops here today, we ask whether India's economy can afford the food bill, at least at this moment. Let's introduce our panel this evening. We're joined by N.K. Singh. He's, of course, somebody we know today as a member of parliament with the Janata Dal United, but is also a very acute financial commentator and follows economics closely. We're also joined by Naresh Gujral, Rajya Sabha member of parliament with the Akali Dal. Joining us as well on the panel today is Pinaki Mishra, member of parliament with the Biju Janata Dal. Also joining us is Rajiv Kumar, economist and former Secretary General of the FICCI, which is, of course, a well-known chambers of business. And with me in the studio is Professor Rajiv Gaura. He's now a spokesperson with the Congress Party, apart from holding his day job as a professor at IIM Bangalore. N.K. Singh, let me start with you. The most interesting thing that strikes somebody like me is the intense argument over how much the food bill is actually going to cost. We'll be hearing from Naresh Gujral in just a moment, who's raised several interesting points about this. But the point of the matter is, you heard Mr. Chidambaram today. He said that the food bill would be under or below the threshold that he's drawn from himself. It would not cross the deficit levels that he set for himself. It would remain behind the red line. But the government says the food bill is going to cost 1.25 lakh crore rupees. Yashwant Sinha, on the other hand, argues that it's going to cost 3 lakh crore rupees. Do you think this debate is at all germane to the fact that the food bill is the responsibility of the state, and whatever the condition of the economy is today not the problem of the poor and the hungry citizen?
Well, first of all, let me begin by saying that we must recognize that at the end of the day, money is fungible. Money is fungible because it's not only a question of what kind of an accounting engineering you do to show costs in a particular way, but if, for instance, large costs have to be incurred on account of the food bill, the issue of whether or not the Lakshman Rekha of the fiscal deficit would be breached is also depends on what you do with the rest of the expenditure. Are you willing, for instance, to eliminate all other subsidies, petroleum and oil products, for instance, fertilizer subsidies? Are you willing, for instance, to deeply rationalize the over 100 centrally sponsored schemes which are being funded by the Planning Commission? So while money is fungible, and while the finance minister would want to find money for fully funding the food bill, this depends on the rest of the exercise and on the rest of what he does with the balance part of the expenditure. Because I think that unless growth picks up, the ability to really have revenue buoyancy is rather limited. So I think the burden of the adjustment of the food bill will lie on the expenditure management of the government and the difficult decisions on rationalizing subsidies, rationalizing the centrally sponsored schemes, and rationalizing non-planned expenditure.
So you're saying,
and
Mr.
N.K.
Singh, so you're saying that for the economy to be able to afford the food bill, the government has to rationalize a different set of subsidies, otherwise we can't afford it.
Oh, of course I'm saying that you cannot have the apple and also eat it. And if you want to really do this major food bill program for important reasons of food security and safe social safety net, which many of these programs entail, then something must give way. Everything can't be accommodated, except in times when the economy is growing at 8-9%, there is high revenue buoyancy. Unfortunately, those days we did not retire public debt. We did not create the fiscal space for this rainy day. So I think right now, if you are going to fully fund this, you must take the consequences of adjusting the other expenditure program of government, principally the program in relation to subsidies, which are somewhat open-ended, and the large centrally sponsored schemes.
Okay.
That's my contention.
All right, let me take that to Naresh Gujral before I get the Congress into this debate. Naresh Gujral, you have a different kind of argument. You're actually making the argument that the extra outlay is actually minimal. From what I understand, you're actually saying that the existing midday meal schemes, for example, or the existing cost on the public distribution system are included in the cost of the food bill. And so you're actually saying that when the government says that we're spending 1.25 lakh crores extra on food, that's simply not true. But the counter question, Naresh, would then be, then what's the anxiety? Because that means that this is not really an extra cost.
Barkha, the government is trying to showcase this Food Security Act as something revolutionary that is being done for the poor of this country. What I am trying to say is that they're hoodwinking the poor of this country. It's a total eyewash. Basically, if you look at it, the cost is going to be 1.25 lakh crore.
Yes.
And I want to just, if you give me 10 seconds, read out what the Minister for Food had to tell me in reply to my question in the Parliament on Friday. The Minister says that the subsidy, when the Food Security Bill is implemented, will be to the tune of roughly 1,25,000 crores. Already our present subsidy on the ongoing PDS is to the tune of rupees 1,09,000 crores.
Yes.
That is on the basis of 2001 census and 92-93 poverty data. Now it is 2013. Even if there is no food security bill, our subsidy will go up to rupees 1,13,000 crores. Now, when the food security bill is implemented, which includes many schemes like midday meal and other schemes for women and children, all these things together, the subsidy will come to 1,25,000 crores. Now what I am saying is, only the midday meal scheme in the budget, it provides for 13,250 crores. You add that to 1,13,000 crores, it becomes 1,26,000 crores.
And therefore what?
So basically,
therefore what is your point?
They are giving nothing new. They are giving nothing new to the poor. In fact, they are cheating the poorest of the poor. Because under the current PDS, there are 6.5 crore below poverty line families who are getting 35 kilos of food grains per month. And the balance 11.5 crores or 10.5 crores are above poverty line. So that makes it a total of 18 crores.
Let me take this to Rajiv Gowda right away.
Average of 5 makes it 90 crore people.
So you're
now also approximately 90 crore people will be covered, but they will only get 25 kilos. So the poor of this country are going to be cheated out of 10 kilograms of food grain every month.
Rajiv Gowda, here's the point. You have Yashwant Sinha who actually says there are hidden costs and this bill could actually cost the exchequer as much as 3 lakh crores plus. You have NK Singh saying rationalize other subsidies. You have Naresh Gujral saying there isn't even an extra outlay like the government is pretending. What seems alarming in all of this, given the state of the economy, is that has the government been in too much of a hurry? And have all other parties fallen in line because politically nobody can afford to oppose the food bill? Because forget the politicians. I'm going to quote to you Ashok Gulati, the chairman of the Commission for Agriculture Costs and Prices. Ashok Gulati's estimation is that to keep either high stocks or to stabilize production, you will need 100,000 crores extra. So he estimates that the actual implementation of the bill will cost more than 200,000 crores. Look at the state of the economy. The question being asked is, noble idea, can we afford it?
Barkha, there are many points that have come up here. One, Naresh Gujral's numbers, I need to look at what the minister has actually has given him.
Yeah.
But to his larger point,
of the parliament.
I know, but I haven't actually seen those numbers. You have.
Okay.
Anyway, so they are new. In a larger sense, you know, the whole concept here is to change the philosophy of this kind of a program, right? So far we have many different programs, ICDS, midday meal, etc. And here we are now turning this into an empowering legal right. Right? So in some sense...
Can the economy afford it?
Well, of course the economy can afford it, because whatever these numbers are, right? Essentially even, ultimately we're still looking at 1% of GDP. We're not looking at numbers which are, which are extraordinarily larger than that. And the other thing is that this is presenting us with an opportunity to fix the PDS, to expand, to actually get rid of BPL related red lines, and essentially open it up in such a manner that we will actually put an end to many kinds of leakages that hitherto used to bedevil these kinds of programs. So those are two points that come through. Mr. Yashwant Sinha's numbers, there are Surjit Bhalla's numbers. There have been articles in EPW, etc., criticizing the assumptions that they've made in coming up with those numbers. With respect to Gulati, again, when you actually are moving food grains through the system to a larger number, as we are going to do, we will actually need less storage space, right? So actually many of those points may not actually stand to reason. The other point is that, look, agriculture and the rural economy and the rural infrastructure has been underinvested in historically, and so these are all good things.